And we're back!
Season 2, bitches.
That's right. You Christian bitches!
Girl, I missed you.
Yes. Oh man, I missed you too. And I missed all the fun that we have together.
I know. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
It-
How was your holiday?
You know, it was lovely enough. I've been bored out of my mind, honestly. Because, I'm doing grad school full time and I had a month off from school and then we weren't even podcasting and I'm not working because I'm doing grad school full. I'm bored out of my mind. Bored out of my mind. Ready to be back in the game, sister.
That's right. When school start back up for you?
Monday.
Okay. Well, look at all this just coming right together now.
Right. Like a big old snowball from hell. Just rolling down the hill, ready to rev me right back
right
up.
over you.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah.
So what do we got today?
Today we are talking about, the Jesus music. Christian bands, and we watched the Jesus music documentary. So we're going to be talking about this.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So I watched that last night because you told me to. That was my assignment, right?
I can't wait to hear your thoughts.
It was so powerful. I really thought it was a powerful movie. And
now when you say powerful, I don't know. I'm curious about what that means. Was it like the power of God powerful?
It was, well, in a way, yes, because it showed that the music triumphs over the Christian nitwits that are like, oh, you can't go against mainstream Christianity. You can't stop playing the organ and you can't. Yeah. So, right.
CC fucking M.
That's right.
For our listeners who don't know, it's the Christian music industry located in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
It is what started in the 70s?
Yeah, I think really got going in the 80s. So originally in the late 60s and early 70s was kind of the Jesus music movement thing. The Jesus movement with their Jesus music.
Out of the Jesus people.
Right.
Like
from Southern
Cal. Hippies and these hippies who just love Jesus, and they started singing some music. They didn't want to just hang with the Gaither band and all that anymore. They wanted to put some soul behind their faith.
Yeah. So they basically, these hippies that were already in bands making music and then came to Jesus, basically just used their same music, and put lyrics of faith in their place.
Keith Green.
Oh, I love Keith Green. I love Keith Green. Oh my God. I had Keith Green Greatest Hits double album.
I went through a big Keith Green phase in college.
Yes.
Oh man.
I did in high school.
His story is so tragic.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know the whole thing, but
him and his kids all died in a plane crash.
Oh crap. I didn't know that.
Wife lost him and all of their children in one fiery plane crash.
Well, how many Christian artists have to die in plane crashes?
A lot.
Apparently a lot.
A lot of Christian artists have died. Once I was looking at that going, oh my gosh, so much tragedy has happened in that entire industry.
Well, I can't wait to talk to you about this because I was so excited in that movie that they covered Amy Grant's divorce and all of that crap.
All the stuff. Toby Mac's son?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got to get into this, girl.
All right.
So some people may not know Christian music,
Mm-hmm.
but listen, if you were raised how we were raised, you went to the Christian festivals, which we covered last time. I mean, I grew up going to, now you came to this in high school, but
In high school,
like I
but
told you, in the Carmen, like
yeah.
I grew up going to all the Carmen concerts. I went on stage with Sandy Patty.
Brit, you lucky
I was
little
like,
Pattykin.
I was like
You,
9, maybe 8 or
yeah.
9. She called all
Wow.
the kids up
You
on
were like a mini
stage.
Patty.
Oh, I
A
was like
mini
a tiny
Patty.
little mini Patty.
Yeah.
Acapella. Did you ever know acapella? They were
No.
like the Christian voice only band that was
Well,
going
that's what
around.
acapella means.
It
So,
is. Yeah, the real creative with that name.
right.
Uh gosh. Who else did I go see? Yeah, Carmen. We would go around
Yeah.
to the different Christian concerts and stuff. That was like all we listened to.
Well, yeah, me too for years. I mean, I got rid of all of my secular music and just listened to Christian music for years.
Well, that's all. I think that's why it became so popular because it was like that's all you're supposed to be listening to.
Right.
All
Right.
the other stuff is devil music.
Definitely during the 80s and into the 90s, um, there was, kind of this thing in, churches and Christian ministries and, Christian crowds that you don't listen to secular music because you
Mm-mm.
are letting the devil in through that music.
And why would you ever need to? Because Christian music rocks.
Right. So, right, because you can go to any Christian bookstore at the time, you could, and you could look up what secular band you
Genre.
like. Yeah. Do you like you too? Then you'll love the Newsboys. Or,
Right. Yes,
yeah. Do you like
exactly.
Metallica? You'll love Striper. Like,
Oh
or
God,
whatever.
Striper. I was cracking up when they were talking about, Christian music. So in this documentary, it kind of goes through how Christian music started and it goes through the 70s and the
Yeah.
80s. And we got Keith Green and we got, Johnny Cash came over to the Christian side and we're
Right.
like moving through. We got the 80s and then suddenly it gets rock hard. We got hard rock
Right.
Christian music. And he
Yeah.
was like, well, it's like Christian music is the pie that's sitting on the table. Then you got the table, then you got the floor, then you got the subfloor, then you got the basement, then you got the crypt. And in the crypt is Christian metal music. I was
Jesus loves you. Yeah.
and
That,
all of these parents freaking out because
yeah.
that's devil music and all of that. And
Right.
God, they were bringing up Striper and Petra and the hard, you know.
Yes.
Oh my God, which reminds me, I also saw Petra in concert
You
with
did?
my ex. My
Mm,
ex loved Striper and Petra. And
sorry.
so
Lighting changed. Yeah. And so you saw Petra in concert? Sorry.
I'm waiting for you. What happened?
I had to unplug the power to my
I gotta blow my nose. I'm sick.
I, my
Were you too hot or
oh,
what?
my power cord fell out. That's why. Jeez, to my computer. The battery for my computer isn't charged enough and my power block fell out of the wall. Ugh.
You're killing me, Smalls.
I know. I'm so sorry. I'm killing myself too. Okay. I'm equally as annoyed with me. All right.
Funny.
Here we go. All right.
Hey,
Back in business. Okay,
we're at it.
so
So we went to a Petra concert, and this guy's armpits just like so he was just dripping wet, so gross. I thought it was the cheesiest, most terrible thing. But
wait, now what did the
I could
armpits have to do with anything?
nothing. It had to do
Okay.
with this because we couple weeks ago we went my partner and I went to the Trans-Siberian Orchestra concert.
Oh, yes.
And the whole time I was like, this is Petra. Like, he was like, I feel like we're at a youth group concert or something. Like the hair and the
Yeah,
metal band, and they're all rocking and they think they're so hot. You know, I was like, the thing that kept coming to me when when I was watching that documentary is like Christian musicians, and I've thought this throughout the years. I'm like, they seem to be those people that could really never make it mainstream. They're like the big fish in a small pond kind of a thing, you know? They're like they are it in that world.
sure.
But
Sure.
to anybody outside of them, it's hilarious.
Well, when they start in Christian music and then try to break into mainstream, that's when shit goes south.
Right.
I mean, nowadays there are actually a lot of mainstream Christian bands that a lot of people don't even know are
Oh
Christian
yeah,
bands. So, like Need to
that's true.
Breathe, I love them. I'm going to their concert.
Are they a mainstream? Did they
Yeah,
break into the mainstream?
yeah, they have mainstream music
Yeah.
music on the radio.
See, I think there's more of a crossover now, but
Yeah,
I still think in a lot of ways that's the goal, right?
sure.
And this is what I was thinking when I was watching the documentary. I'm like, is the goal the music really, or is the goal the fame? I think for a lot of bands, it's the fame.
Right.
And
Well,
that's how they can get their start is in a very small pond. And so they do
sure.
that.
Sure. Well, I think that's not how it started. I think it
Right.
genuinely started from a place of loving Jesus and loving
Yes.
music to celebrate Jesus. And
Yeah.
then, I mean, the documentary
And they
kind of
say
walks
that
you
in the
through that.
documentary.
Yeah. And then it kind of morphed into this we've got a captive audience
And we
and
can make a lot
we
of
can make a
money.
lot of money. And so it became this big industry and more about
Right.
the fame and, you know, less about God. And now it is transitioning. Now it's, there's not, the trend is not towards CCM so much
Mm-hmm.
as like the new worship music with Hillsong and um,
You know, I'm out of it. I
Outer
don't really
Band.
even know. I don't even listen to it
And
anymore.
yeah, so I do. And yeah, the trend is now moving towards worship. And they cover that
Mm.
in the documentary as well when Michael W. Smith made his
Yeah.
worship album and and wrote that song um We're Coming Back to the Heart of Worship.
Yeah.
And it really kicked off a
And Chris
whole
Tomlin was huge
yeah,
in
Chris
that.
Tomlin. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
which is good. I mean, I think that that shift needed to happen, which
yes.
was really good. Yeah.
'Cause
I was
it had become like
surprised.
fake rock and roll
Yes.
is what it had become, is just fake rock and roll. But now
Yeah.
it's actually moved back towards truly connecting with God through the music.
Well, and let's clarify that this is I mean, the documentary talks about this also that CCM was really for the white folks
Oh,
and the
right.
white folks music,
Yes.
right? That like black artists were really from the beginning and have always been about the gospel music, always
Yes.
about the worship, always about I wasn't a huge Kirk Franklin fan, but I love Fred Hammond and
Mm.
Radical for Christ. So
Mhm.
like these bands were like they're backed or these musicians are backed up by these glorious choirs,
Mm.
gospel choirs, you
Yes,
know.
yes.
And and that not really being CCM's thing.
Right.
Right? So you could get the fame and the big money and all of that if you had that certain white man sound.
Right.
Now, I was surprised that they put Rich Mullins' picture up.
They didn't talk
They
about
didn't
him at
talk
all.
about him at all, but I did see
Nah,
his picture, and I thought that was really interesting. I thought that the
I kept
documentarians missed a
waiting.
huge opportunity
Yeah.
because he was that voice of, like, he was only for Jesus.
Yeah.
That's what his music was about.
Yeah.
And CCM tried to tie him down and they could not. So there's a story, our listeners, some may know, some may not, but my ex toured with Rich Mullins. So we talked about Rich
As
a
like
lot
a band member, right? Or
as
a
a band
backup.
member.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a band member. And so there were a lot of these stories of Rich um not like his frustration with CCM
Yeah.
and with the Nashville monster
Yeah.
that it was,
Yeah.
right? And so there's this story of, like, he had a meeting with them and Rich never changed his clothes. He never wore shoes. I mean, he was just like, I'm showing up. He looked homeless. Half of the people wouldn't let him into his own
Ragamuffin band.
concerts. He was a ragamuffin,
That's right.
right? So, like, there's this story of he had to go to this, like, meeting in Nashville with some of the big wigs, and they wouldn't let him in until he went and bought like a white t-shirt, like, bought a shirt to, like, go change his shirt or something
Uh,
to meet with them or something. Like, it's just, and he was so huge and famous at that time. Like,
and
are you kidding me? He's making the millions of dollars and
right.
he had to show up a certain way. Like, that's just what it had become.
Uh, Instead
Yeah.
of those big wigs bowing down to him.
Which, I mean, he wouldn't have wanted anyway.
I know, I'm not
But
bowing down,
yeah.
but I mean, I mean,
Yeah.
th-
Thank you
th-
for, like, you're making us money is what I'm
right,
saying. Like, you
right.
know what I'm saying?
They
And
should change
it's just,
their right.
yeah. And it just
Clearly, I can't
became
form a
like the
sentence
church
around
has
that. But
become in so many ways.
yes,
Music and, I mean, the money and people, they ruin everything.
yeah,
So I'm glad people are
yeah,
starting to get back to it. I
yes.
thought Amy Grant in the documentary was phenomenal. She's very
She
humble.
was. Yes. I loved um when she was talking about that interview where the guy was calling her all kinds of awful things.
Yes.
And
He
her
was like, "You're
response to that,
deceitful and you're a liar and you're a
yeah,
adulteress and you're all this stuff."
uh-huh. And she said something to the effect of, "Oh, I'm so much worse than you think.
I'm so
But
much
by the
worse than
grace
you
of
think I am.
God, I yeah,
Yes, I was like, "Damn, what a great response."
yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no,
So much
I'm
more
much worse
respect
than
for her.
that. And that she had, after the divorce, and I mean,
Yeah.
I remember being young and mom,
Mhm.
because we listened to her Age to Age album
Yeah.
on, it was a record. We
Mhm.
listened to that, and then we had the cassette. Listened to that a lot, and I remember my mom making comments about her when, like, she had gone mainstream, so she was singing with Peter Cetera and, like, you
Right.
know, oh man, she's singing about love and stuff instead of Jesus, and she's kind of
Right.
gone out there, and then she gets divorced and people are just bad mouthing
Yeah.
her.
Yeah. What a harlot.
And she was, talking about journaling and saying, I have forfeited all rights to being up on stage, singing about anything. Like, how can I
It,
be in front of people?
isn't that so sad? That
Yes.
that
I was
the
like, first of all, you didn't,
industry she was surrounded with made her feel as though any anything outside of, the picture perfect
you
moral
have to be
Christian
perfect
ha
to be on stage.
which is ridiculous because no one is. No one.
Well, and
So
that's true. And so I think that's what I've always appreciated about an artist, though, is their transparency.
Right.
Whether it's, I mean, anybody on stage. That's one of the most frustrating things is when
Mhm.
a Christian artist or a pastor, anybody on stage gets on stage and either thinks or they have the air of being superior to
Yes.
the crowd beneath them, right?
Right.
And like that
I've
kind of
left many a
transparency to,
church. Yeah. I've left many a church whose pastors preach to the crowd, but aren't
yeah.
open and vulnerable about themselves. And it's like, we know you're just as fucked as the rest of us. So don't please don't pretend to
yeah.
be so pure and mighty and ugh. Yeah.
Right. Right. Well, and we had mentioned Sandy Patty.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
No.
Like, so she cheated on her husband
Mhm.
and it came out and she had to apologize to everyone for cheating on her husband. I'm like, okay, you don't have to apologize to us.
Right. That's
Like,
between you and God and your husband. You
but
know?
God forbid you do something like that. But we're going to hush all of Carmen's stuff
Right.
and keep that behind the scenes because we
Well, he
don't want to
wasn't
taint his
cheating on a wife
image.
because he wasn't married that we
Oh, that's
know
right.
of.
That's right.
I mean, you know,
That's right.
he wasn't cheating.
It's not cheating if you're not married.
Right.
It's not premarital sex if you don't plan on getting married.
That is so convenient.
Amazing how we do that. Yeah, but Sandy Patty,
Oh gosh.
shame on her.
Oh, yes. Heaven forbid you should have a moral failure of any kind.
Mm.
And
Or your child does.
right, like Toby
I
Mac.
didn't know that about Toby
I did
Mac.
not either. So tell our listeners that story.
Okay, Toby Mac was one of the 3 members of DC Talk
Mhm.
with Kevin Max and Michael Tate.
Mhm.
And then DC Talk kind of dissolved. Michael Tate went on to the Newsboys. Toby Mac started doing his own thing. Big
Yeah.
artist in Christian music.
Yes, still today.
His 16-year-old son died of an overdose.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Now, when he came onto the screen, I didn't even know who he was.
Oh, in the documentary?
In the
Well, because he's gotten
documentary,
so
I
old.
was like, who
I
is
knew
this old
immediately.
guy?
Yeah, I
No,
knew.
I had no idea. I was like, in fact, when they're flashing these images up, I knew Amy Grant. I didn't know hardly anybody else. Some
Oh,
of the
really?
newer artists, I was like, I don't know who you are. The
Yeah.
girl that she said Amy Grant has taken her under her wing or whatever, I have no idea
Lauren
who she
Daigle?
is. Don't know.
Lauren
Never
Daigle is
even heard her name before.
amazing. She's amazing. She's an
She's
amazing
got an
artist.
amazing voice. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I have no idea
And
who
just a
she is.
neat, neat lady, and I love her music.
Okay, great. But I was like, I don't know who these people are. And I had no idea it was Toby Mac. I was like, he looks like he's been through some shit.
Well, he has been through some shit, poor
Dang.
guy.
And
Yeah.
apparently he has.
Yeah.
Man,
That
that
will
is
age you.
heartbreaking.
That will age you, losing a child,
It
especially to
absolutely
a
will.
drug-related event. Yeah.
Man, yeah, yeah. And I was like, man, these people who because of the fame they do suffer in silence. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure that he knew that his son was struggling in some ways, you
Yeah.
know. Mm,
Maybe, or who knows if he was touring. I mean, you know, who knows how much of that goes unseen. You know, my son
that's true.
struggled with drugs and we were living in the same house. I knew he was messing around with drugs. I had no idea the level of addiction. And I
The
sat
depths of
next to
it.
that kid on the couch every day and, you know,
Mm,
we, we hung out a lot, me and my kid. And I
yeah.
still had no clue the
Well, that's
level that
fair.
he was addicted to
Yeah.
drugs. And it's
Well,
really
but I
a
was thinking
miracle that
because you're
child is
in
still alive. But
yes. Well, that has a lot to do with you. You're an amazing mom.
Thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
You're very welcome, because it's true. But I was thinking, there's so much that we don't, that obviously, because they're famous, that they're,
Right.
they have to suffer in silence with these things.
Right. Right.
Stephen Curtis Chapman lost a daughter. He sings about her.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew about that. I mean, just like their lives come out in song, and I'm like, that's the level, like it's that music that really is
Do you know
was
how
always
he
powerful to
lost?
me.
Do you know how he lost his daughter? Did
Well,
he hit her
from what
with
I
his car or
believe,
something? Or is it?
it was the
Oh.
oldest, his like teenage biological son
Oh.
accidentally ran over the little
Okay.
adopted daughter in the driveway.
Okay. That's what. Yeah.
Right? So
I
like,
had heard that story. Yeah.
good God.
Yeah. Can you
Yeah.
even imagine?
No.
Yeah.
No. I
No.
cannot imagine. So, I know that there's like, when I was listening to Christian music a lot, it was always that kind of music where they're putting their guts out into
Yes.
song in front of God. That
Yes.
was always really powerful, because I'm like, I can relate to this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
relate to this level of pain and humanity and
Right.
grief and all
Right.
this kind of stuff. And so the documentary talks about that quite a bit, of like getting to that, of like,
And
we're
that's
here.
exactly what I thought was so powerful. It was the true
Gotcha.
story behind the crap that CCM tried to put out in front for, the public to see. It was
Right.
what really went on with these artists and their real struggles. And to me, it makes me respect them so much more to hear
Yeah.
about their vulnerabilities and their brokenness and their place of loss. And, they're human just like us, and they want to serve God and please God, but they
Yeah.
also had to fit into this mold of, right, of
Yes.
perfection on screen and on stage. So very,
Absolutely.
very challenging place to be. Far more so than a, a person that is famous mainstream, because you
Oh,
almost expect the mainstream stars to fuck up their whole
yeah.
lives, sleep
Yeah,
around with
they're
each
supposed to be
other
on
and
drugs and sleeping
right.
around and doing all the
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
But heaven forbid you should love Jesus at the same time. Oh, look at that. That's interesting. Heaven forbid. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Wow.
Sorry, go ahead.
Look at those filters. Heaven forbid you should love Jesus and, want
And have a life.
to, yeah, want to make a ministry out of your talent and
Yeah.
then, and then actually have a human life as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
no, not allowed to be
Absolutely.
human if you love Jesus. Have
Yeah.
to miraculously transcend uh the flaws of
Right. You have to
humankind.
become Jesus
Right.
to do that. Well, yeah, and again, coming back to Rich Mullins,
Yeah.
he was just, and that's why I wish they'd talked about him a little bit more. There's a
Mhm.
whole documentary just on Rich, but he was that guy who was just, this is who I am,
Yeah.
right? And my
Right.
music's just about Jesus, and I'm always just kind of living right on the edge, ready to fall over at any minute. And, made so much freaking money, and told his accountant to pay him whatever the average working man was making every year. That's all he made.
Wow.
Everything else was given to charity.
I did not know that about
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Well,
Which was
now I
like
wanna
30
download all
some.
of his albums.
Right. I'm like, now that's powerful. I will listen to
Yeah.
somebody like that. Like, it was
Yes.
like 30 some thousand of dollars a year that he was making,
Good lord. That he was living off of.
that he
30,
was living off of.
yeah.
Yeah.
He was
I mean, he
making
lived in a
a lot
trailer
more than
park.
that.
He
Yeah.
lived in a trailer on the Native American reservation, like with the
Wow.
Native Americans, and really was passionate about, helping them to know Jesus. So, I mean,
That's
his entire
amazing.
life was
Was
ministry.
yeah. Now that
That's why I think he was so powerful.
yeah. That is what I respect. That is what I
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. So, I think that's what the documentary also showed was like, yes, you know, if they're trying to do this on stage and like we're getting back to Jesus and it's this worship album and stuff like that, and that's great, you're still making a whole hell of a lot of money off of that.
Right.
So like, what's your, not that making money is bad, but what does your life look like
Right. Yeah. So making
along
money
with the
is
words on
not
stage? It's not bad,
sinful.
right?
It's not yeah, there's nothing wrong with making money. But
Right.
but if money is the goal and not, the ministry or, you know,
Yeah.
the spiritual side of it, trying to
Right.
please God with what you're
And you can
doing.
never know that. You can never know really like if
No.
they're what they're the words on stage or
Yeah.
but I
You
I
mean
think I'm
you can never know it as an audience person, as an audience member. Is that what you're saying?
no.
What are you saying?
Yes, exactly. And I think so I think I'm always just a little more skeptical anyway, but because my ex was a musician with Rich and he
Mhm.
had toured with Rich, which meant that he had known a lot of famous artists and he had been backstage and he had seen a lot of stage behavior versus
Yeah.
backstage behavior.
Right, right, right.
And then when we were married, we were also doing our little band thing, which is I go
Because
it's stupid
you were
now.
in a Christian band.
I mean, it always made it still gives me like bleh. I hate the feeling of it. I didn't want fame. People would come up and ask for my autograph and stuff like that. It was just never genuinely never anything that I wanted,
Mhm. Yeah.
And um like we did this album in Nashville and the documentary showed Phil Keaggy, he played on our album. Like
Nice.
the whole thing of like we're going to try to make it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It grosses me out. I mean that's why I was like I'm done. I can't do this anymore. It's not what I want. And we stopped. But like running into some of these famous people that were actually on the documentary and
Mm.
seeing what they were like
Yeah.
and behind they is very different.
Yes.
Very, very different, Some people were very, very rude. Or, I saw how they treated the people who served them in their green room and the
Mm.
expectations that they had. They had to have very specific things because we
Yeah.
are
We're
the
stars.
name.
Yeah.
Yes. You will serve us.
Yeah. No, not
I mean,
okay.
all of that kind of stuff was very disgusting for me to see. And I was like, I don't
Oh,
want to be a
yeah.
part of this. I want nothing
Oh,
to do with this. And I'm not going to name names,
yeah.
but a lot of those, like, there were 4 on the documentary that I had met in person. And we're
Wow.
like, not
And it was
really
all part of
listening
that
to anything you have
CCM,
to say. That crowd.
the
Yeah, I like
CCM stuff.
CCM
Yeah.
artists.
Yeah.
Yeah, big freaking names.
Yeah. Yuck.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
gross. So I look at that and I'm like,
That's
even what you're
disappointing.
saying on the documentary, I'm like, okay. Yes, we are just, okay.
You're like, I'm not buying into it
Mhm.
because I've
That's
witnessed
really
it.
nice you're saying that for the documentary, but when
Yeah.
somebody, some little peon of a person was backstage with you, you
Mhm.
were not kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's gross behavior.
It is gross. Yeah,
Mhm.
but I mean that's all of us act like that. I'm sure I've done that to people.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Especially,
And
when I was younger and less evolved.
absolutely, that's very true.
So,
Yeah. Like how often do I stop and say thank you to the person
Right.
cleaning out the trash cans at the airport or,
And if people are putting you on a pedestal and
Yeah.
telling you that you're a big fucking deal, and,
Yeah.
you're young and yeah, you probably start to believe that crap
Yeah.
about
Absolutely.
yourself, that,
And
well,
so
I am better
I
than
must be.
other people, so I guess I'll
Yeah.
just, yeah, that's unfortunate. But part of me being a human, but it's part of
Yeah.
humanity. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Well, I think the documentary showed the humanity, and I thought that was very well done.
Yes, and that's why, like I said, that's why I thought it was so powerful, and that it really showed the humanity behind the Christian front of the whole Christian
Yeah.
music scene, which I
Yeah.
loved.
Man, I would have loved to have heard some of the other voices. Were there any artists on there that maybe didn't talk that you were like, "Oh, I wish I would have heard from them"? Anybody that you remember listening to growing up?
I mean, gosh, all the big ones that I really, it would have been great to have Carmen, but he's dead, as we covered in our.
That's right.
Don't make fun of Carmen. He's
Okay,
dead.
some of those they mentioned but
But,
didn't talk. Um, Audio Adrenaline.
oh, right. Yeah,
We talk
they
about them.
plugged them a couple
That's
times,
right.
but they
Yeah,
never did any interviews or anything. Yeah, that would have been
right.
interesting.
Uh-huh. Ooh, let's see. Some of them that did talk, but briefly. Third Day,
Mm,
Rebecca St. James,
yeah. Oh, I used to love
uh,
Rebecca St. James.
the guy from Jars of Clay, who I still listen to. I love
I
Jars
love
of
George Clay
Clay.
and Caedmon's Call. Do you remember Caedmon's Call?
Yes, I
Fucking
still
love
listen to
Caedmon's
them
Call.
every once in a
Yes,
while.
me too. Yeah, that was big. Jars of Clay and Caedmon's Call. That was like early 90s,
Oh, that
mid
was
90s.
college
Yes,
days
that was
for
good
me.
stuff. Yeah.
Heck yeah. They Russ Taff, I don't know if you remember him, but they talked about his addiction issues and stuff. I
Mhm.
thought that was really
Mhm. And
interesting.
how
He
they
was an
did an
older.
intervention. That was cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Um uh,
What?
Oh gosh. I just thought the different genres of music was really funny. Oh, you mentioned the Crowder band.
Yeah. Yeah, David
So,
Crowder and the Crowder Band.
are they
Yeah.
still doing the thing? They're still going?
I
Still
believe
doing music?
so. I mean, I haven't checked recently to see what if they have new albums out, but I think
Okay.
I think maybe so. I mean, 10 years
Who are
ago,
some new
definitely.
like okay, 10 years ago, yeah. But like who are some new current bands? I don't
Well,
even know
Lauren
any.
Daigle is
Yeah.
new.
Okay.
Um Crap, I don't know because I don't listen to Christian radio all that much, but when
Okay.
when there are songs like um at church that I like or whatever, then I'll look them
Yeah.
up. I love a lot of Hillsong's music. Of course, there's a whole big documentary out about Hillsong
About Hillsong.
and what a shady
I
organization they are.
know. I
But then
know.
again, it's humans getting a big ego, being placed on a pedestal, made to think that they're greater than, and then run them with that. Well, I guess I am, you know. But the
The ego.
music they produce, especially out of Hillsong of Australia, is just phenomenal. It's
Yeah.
phenomenal. So,
I so this was surprising to me, but when I was watching the documentary, I was like, ugh, it hit this like inner place within me of just like, oh, like, ugh, just the times to like be in church worshiping or by myself,
yeah.
just like what the worship music stirs, sitting around the
Yes.
campfire at youth
Yes.
camp or whatever, of just like that has nothing to do with any one artist or
Right.
anything. It's just between me and God and
And
my
God.
worship.
Mhm.
Like when I was hearing those songs, I was like, oh, Oh, I thought that was pretty powerful because I
Yes.
haven't like really listened to that music or felt that in a while. So that was brought back some good things, very nostalgic.
Yes. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I would highly suggest everyone watch that documentary. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah. It could be
And
a
yeah,
little triggery, I'm sure, but it
yeah,
was,
depending on what your
I thought
background
there
is,
was
for
some,
sure.
yeah.
I mean, to me, it brought a lot of nostalgia back. It reminded me of the years that I only listened to cheesy CCM, and but it redeemed a lot of that for me as well.
Yeah.
Hearing about some of my favorite artists and you know who they were as people behind the
Yes.
scenes.
And their
So,
attempts to shed
yes.
all of the stuff that comes with it, all of the ego and the fame, and like their attempts to push back on that.
Right.
Like Amy Grant telling Lauren Daigle, like, the first thing you should do is go buy some land with that money, but go get some land so that you can get away
Yeah.
and just reconnect. And it's just you and God. And Amy and Michael W. Smith had this little retreat with just
Yes.
these tiny little cabins. I was like,
Yeah.
they look like these little broken down, none of them match. These little cabins on this property.
Right. Well, they're like 150-year-old cabins.
Right.
Yes.
These
They're like
little
from the
cabins
1850s or something. Yeah.
where they encourage other artists to just go sit and keep
Yeah.
this fire going, a
Yeah.
campfire going for
Yeah.
3 days. So just sit out here alone in the
Uh-huh.
quiet and stoke the fire for 3 days
Yeah.
and get back to God.
Yep.
And I was like, all right, now that is pretty damn cool.
That is pretty damn cool. I thought that was amazing. I love that for them.
Yeah,
And the fact that they're
so
such
needed.
great friends all
That was
these
really cute.
years later.
I
Yeah.
know.
They're
They're just
neat
sitting by
people.
the fire playing their little guitars.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, didn't you just want to squeeze them? I just wanted to squeeze them. Be like,
yeah.
"Oh, you grew up into good people." I mean, I think they were
Yes.
always good people. I think
Yeah.
they, just
Yeah.
ugh,
There are definitely some that you go, man, I think all along you've really tried to hold on to what was right. You were trying to do what was right from the beginning and
yeah,
you've tried to hold on to that. And
yeah.
then some, of course, came up as wanting to be hot shots and
Right.
stayed that way. And of course. My son was telling me, I was talking to him about our podcast and what we're going to be doing. And he said that he went backstage one time. They had like backstage passes at a big Christian music festival.
Okay.
And he went backstage and he was like, I found myself in a spot that I don't think I was supposed to be in. And he said it was like all the green room area. Like there
Uh-huh.
was the backstage, this is where we're going to come out and meet you and talk to you.
Yeah.
But he made his way back to some,
The
you know,
backstage.
the Holy of Holies. And
Did he
he
go through the
said,
cleansing ritual first? Because yeah,
nope.
oh
He just showed
man.
up.
Wow.
And he said there were just a bunch of guys sitting around and he didn't know any of them because that's my son and I absolutely adore him. He was like, I didn't know anybody. But
Yeah.
one of them was like, hey, you want to play some pool? And so he started playing pool and um, it was just a bunch of bands, and a bunch of people walking around back there and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And so he said he was just talking to this guy and the guy's like, what band are you a part of? And he was like, I'm not in a band. I'm not really supposed to be back here, whatever. And he was like, what band are you in? And he was like, DC Talk. It was Michael Tate. He
That's
had no idea.
amazing. Oh my god.
I
That
was
is
like, man,
amazing.
son, I bet he enjoyed that. There's not many people in that
Yeah.
environment who wouldn't have known that he's Michael Tate.
Right.
What an
Right.
honor to be playing pool with Michael Tate. And my
Yeah.
son's like, I have no
DC
idea who you
Talk
are.
and Newsboys. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, Newsboys. That's right.
Right.
So this must have been maybe a while
Right,
ago,
because
or
your kiddo wasn't born yet, I don't
he
think, when
was, yeah.
DC Talk broke up, or no, maybe
Yeah.
it was somewhere right around then, probably. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. I remember. Yeah. It was pretty
Oh,
cute. I
that's
was like, I
amazing.
love that about you, my son. He just doo doo doo. No idea.
Oh, that's awesome. So,
Yeah.
they also, going back into the documentary, um, and talking about Striper, and they were interviewing
Yes.
Striper, and
Michael
oh,
Sweet.
I don't know his name.
Michael Sweet. Michael something. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the guy.
So yeah, the Striper guys. Um, and how they were saying that they came to Jesus by watching Jimmy Swaggart on TV. Remember that? And
Yes.
so, like, they were watching Jimmy Swaggart and then kind of invited the whole family to watch, and all of them got on their knees and prayed to Jesus. And so they felt like Jimmy Swaggart was like their pastor,
Their man.
and they were so like he was their spiritual leader.
Yeah.
And then they went on to form Striper, and Jimmy Swaggart came right out and was talking about how Striper was devil music and that it should be renounced by
Yes.
the church. And they were so hurt.
Crushed.
They're like, "Have you even talked to us? Do you even know who we are? We're so sold out for Jesus, and you're telling us,
Right.
yeah, and you're
And
telling
we
people,
love you, our
yeah,
pastor. That
that's
was
so
so
sad."
sad.
So, in our
So
episode next
sad.
week, we're actually going to be talking a little bit more about Jimmy Swaggart because I'm going to talk about televangelists
Yay!
next week.
Yes! Oh, yes.
So, we'll get to get into
I
some good
can't
behind the
wait.
scenes, real life stuff that happens
Now
when you try to be
there's
holy, holy, holy.
some ego
Yeah, up
and some
on
scandal.
stage. Mhm.
Oh, man. That's going to be great.
Can't really pull it
Okay.
off behind the scenes so well, can ya?
I'm
Yeah.
excited about that, girl. Okay.
All
Well, this
right.
has been lovely.
It
Thank you.
has.
Good to see your face again. I
Good
missed
to
you
see
so
you
much.
too. And by the way, you look like a snow princess.
With my fuzzy sweater?
Yes.
I had a client today tell me I look like a polar bear.
Well, that's not as nice as a snow princess.
Okay, I'm burning this damn sweater.
No,
Okay,
it's so
thank
cute.
you.
No,
Oh,
I
thank
love
you.
it
I
actually.
do like a snow princess
Yeah,
face
you
better.
do look like
Okay.
a snow princess. I think it's
Thank
lovely.
you.
So, yeah.
Thank you, dear.
Yeah, I
All
might have
right.
looked a little bit more princessy if I hadn't just like leapt out of the bathtub and not even had a chance to put
You
on
look
any makeup
so beautiful.
and just threw on the first clothes that I could grab off a hanger. So,
You look great.
thank you. I've missed you.
I've missed you too.
All
And I
right.
get to see you next week.
Next week when I bring you all the slutty slime of
Televangelism.
televangelists.
I can't wait. All
All right.
right.
Till
See you
then.
then. Bye.
Bye.